Feminists written by men are the absolute worst, says Ordara. Yeah, yeah. What can I say? It's I think anything written by like men, so a man writing for anyone else, especially a white man writing for anyone else, which is the most common thing that happens. Like when I played the video game, The Last of Us 2. There's this character. It's this character called Manny. And he reminds me. He's talking to Stranger Things. He reminds me of the Latino guy in Stranger Things as well. I forget his name. Um, the guy who like the stoner guy. Manny in the video game annoys the crap out of me because like he feels the need every few sentences to say cabrón, órale, mano, pinche, and like that's not how it works, man. Like that's not how it works. Like when you see me speaking in English with an English speaking person, I don't interject with like Spanish backwards unless it is like from the heart, unless like I beat my thumb or something with a hammer, or like I get a fright and it comes out of like, oh, like like a moment. It's just not like that. We don't speak in like interjecting Spanish words for nothing when we speak in English, unless we're surrounded by Latinos, but that's different. Um, yeah, so I hate that. I have this, my controversial theory is that like the best representations of Latinos in cinema and TV are actually not necessarily in any order, but number one, Joel in The Last of Us, the TV show. They turned him into a Latino, and there's no evidence that he's Latino other than the fact that he's Pedro Pascal. Right? It's just he just is human, and there's no need to add an orale or a mano or a I don't know ándele ándele so that you know that he's Latino. He just is Latino. Right? I really appreciate that. The other great demonstration of Latinness is Bender from Futurama. Bender from Futurama is he's Mexican, born in Mexico, made in Mexico, and he has a lot of Latin stereotypes. Like, oh, Latinos are thieves. You know, like oh, some Latinos, like Peruvians are called thieves often. Like Latinos are thieves, or like Latinos are lazy, or Latinos are like criminals. Right? He has so many of these stereotypes, and yet it never matters because he's never portrayed as like ándale, ándale, órale, órale, pinche güey, cabrón, right? He just is. And in I think it's like season 4 that you discover that yeah, he's Mexican. He's Bender Bending Rodriguez, right? Something like yeah, Bender Rodriguez. He just is. I love it when Latin characters are allowed to just be. And then my number one top best representation of Latino people in movies has to be Johnny Rico and friends in Starship Troopers. And people don't really make this connection. People don't really think of this as Latinos. Um, like Johnny Rico is Argentinian. Denise Richards' character, I forget her name, in Starship Troopers, is Argentinian. They all supposedly I speak Spanish, and they are like super white, and they all speak in English amongst themselves, even with their parents. And my head canon is that that's not because like Buenos Aires has become Americanized and like the federation has mandatory English for everyone. No, no, no. I just think that they're very, 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 very rich white Latin Americans. And so they go to this like really, really, really fancy American school. And so they speak in English because the classes are in English because that's very common among like very, very rich people in Latin America where they go to school and they all speak in English all day long. Um, like it is relatively common among like elite families, not just elite families. Like some people like go through a lot of effort and put their kids in these schools. I went to one of these schools for 2 years. One of the reasons why I speak good English, I guess. And then my family couldn't afford it, took me out of the school. Right. So I was kindergarten, first grade in one of these schools. So this is how I know. So everything is in English. You speak in English all the time. Everyone is white, and and they all speak in English, right? And so my And it's the story of how this like guy, this really privileged, really spoiled guy, gets radicalized into hating a race of aliens that he has never actually met, doesn't know anything other than what the propaganda tells him, and like to stupid levels. Like the movie starts with like, oh, the bugs, who are the aliens in the evil aliens in Starship Troopers, sent a meteorite to Earth and destroyed Buenos Aires, and that's why he gets like radicalized and joins the army, right? But it's kind of stupid because it would take centuries for that meteorite to travel the entire galaxy to Earth, right? So it is impossible for these bugs, literal bugs, to influence the orbits of meteorites hundreds of years into the past to plan a war with humanity, right? They just don't think that way, right? It's ridiculous. The whole explanation of the war with the bugs is obviously propaganda designed so that humanity can expand into um, into the bug space, right? And then this idiot, rich Latin American Argentinian totally 100% buys into the propaganda, gets radicalized, and then goes on to kill a bunch of bugs at the other side of the galaxy. And I just find that is the best representation of Latin Americans in cinema. Not because um, um, how can I say that? Not because like you don't, for the same reasons as like Bender and Joel in The Last of Us, because they're not really represented as Latin Americans, but because it is so understated that they would obviously be Latin American and behave exactly like that and speak English with their friends at all times, and like be very spoiled and very like gullible and very easy to radicalize into like this fascist mindset. It's just the best representation of Latin American elites I have ever seen in cinema, and I don't know to what a degree it was on purpose, but it is fantastic. Um, yeah, okay, so that's me bracketing. That's me bracketing uh, Andor and Latino representation in movies.